Hello, good morning and good evening or good afternoon, wherever you are. I have my beautiful friend Jason Hairston. Did I pronounce your last name
You
correctly?
sure did.
Oh, good.
Yes, yes.
So I'm so excited to have you on the show. It has been years since I've actually seen you in person. We had a beautiful chance meeting one night in Melbourne when you ran, was it your very first shamanic dance?
Yeah, actually at that time I was doing what I call shamanic dance circles for women, where it was just me, and I wanted to create an event where women can let out all their frustrations and pain they had towards men, and then use me as a catalyst to get that out. So the shamanic dance is something I came up with that night. I said, I got an idea. I see a vision. So you were one of the first people to ever experience the shamanic dance in Melbourne, Australia. That's where I invented it.
And it was, as we were just talking backstage, it was just such a chance
Yeah.
meeting. It was I think I saw a post that you did or something.
Mhm.
And I'm just like, you know what? I've got to go do this because, as you know, like I love belly dancing,
Yeah.
love, working with Kundalini and shamanic practices. So perhaps maybe we sort of dive in and start to talk about, because you work as a shaman, you work as a healer, and
Yes.
I love the information you put out to do with relationships. And I saw an interesting post not that long ago with
Mhm.
you talking about coming to conclusions on relationships and things.
Yes.
Do you
Yes.
maybe want to tell us like a little bit more about what you do? Because I know that you're also a recording artist. You've got so much value that you bring to the world, and you've just released, a series on Iconic as well,
Yes.
David Icke's network. So yeah, you're probably better to introduce because there's so much.
Yeah. What I call myself now is a healing artist because I want to use a plethora of mediums to teach. And music is one of those mediums, but I also do self mastery coaching, which I help people find their negative habitual patterns that they're stuck in and show them how to unravel those things. I'm also an energy healer. I do retreats. So I write poetry. I'm a Renaissance man, a healing Renaissance man, pretty much is what you can say. So I enjoy expressing myself through all those different ways. But also share whatever insight that I discover within myself that helps heal myself. I always want to share that insight with everybody else because it's important. So any little code that I figure I found out a code, I'm gonna share this with the people because I really care about people and I hate to see people suffer. You know, so if I can share something that can help you, I will. I'm also in the cryptocurrency, and this is not, and I want to go down this route. A lot of us healers have a lot of issues around money. We have to get over that. There's nothing wrong with doing this type of work and investing in assets, right? And the
Yeah.
reason why I started focusing on assets, I fell back from doing spiritual work for a while because I hated being in a position where I got to get clients, I got to get clients, I got to get clients, and all this pressure. So I said, you know what? I have to invest my money and have my money make money so I don't have as much pressure because I don't like being in a position where I got to try extra hard to get clients. It just doesn't sit right with my soul, you know.
Mm.
I would rather be in a position to where I could still share what I do, but it's not as much pressure, you know. So that's why I was like, okay, I need to focus on investing as well, investing in money that makes money so I can relax and do my work from a more relaxed place, you know. And I
Wow.
think we should focus on as healers. I think we should not only focus on our craft, but we should also focus on grounding our lives by learning how to invest so we can all share our gifts from a more comfortable space, you know?
Yeah, I love that. And that's so in alignment with law of assumption. So, you know how you were just saying, like about needing to get the clients, needing to get the clients.
Yeah.
It goes in opposites of quantum physics. So it's that you already have that client, the client base, you already have that abundance, it's already happened. Otherwise, we're kind of manifesting in lack mentality and we're bringing in more of the less.
Mhm.
So, I think that it's so important that sometimes that we do take care of the wealth side of things, how you were saying, like with crypto and everything, and then we can focus on it. Because I know a lot of the time when it's trying to struggle to make your art to be the income or you see that a lot with artists, and that's why I use that example too, that it's like trying to make their passion, or like wring the towel to get the last drops of water out of it, with their passion. Yeah, so I like what you're talking about. It's so in alignment, and I like it how it's different, just the way that you go about it too. I'm just going to have a look. Oh, and I just want to say happy birthday to Deanne that's joining us as well.
Happy birthday. Happy birthday.
Hopefully I pronounced your name right. She was just saying it's just making her day. Best gift ever. So thank you. So one of the things that I would love to talk about would be you on the Iconic series. Oh, and I just want to mention that what I'm drinking today, it's actually not a martini. It's one of my potions. So I've got my range of teas that I'm releasing hopefully later this year. It could even be into the start of next year. This is I Am That Witch. And it really is kind of utilizing that manifestation process and that shamanic energy of putting power and energy into something. And I was saying to Jason backstage as well that it's this is to abundance, and that's what prompted me to think of it too when you were talking about crypto and everything, and about working with abundance. Abundance is an energy, and I think that it really is, like, you and I are sort of like in that similar age bracket as well. And I think like when you get into your 40s, there's just this energy about becoming so comfortable within yourself. And I think that when we show up as ourselves, more opportunity starts to open up. And I think that we come more into alignment, not only with who we are on the path. Your aura is distracting me right now. You've got like all this violet.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. I can't even see it.
Yeah, it's amazing because Violet, and your shamanic work and everything we're talking about, really being yourself, and your energy is just showing off that authenticity. So it's beautiful. So yeah, do you want to talk maybe like a little bit about how the Iconic series came about with David Icke, and about how that's really enabled you to share your work in a different way? And I know that you've helped people already with that as well, that it really is kind of you showing up and people are being able to come into that funnel or into that video series.
Yeah, so that came from just me sharing information on Facebook like I always do. I'm always posting, expressing myself. And a good friend, Christiane, shout out to Christiane, she works for Iconic. She just approached me and said, I love what you're talking about on Facebook. First of all, she asked me, would you like to be on a show called Messengers? So I'm also on another show called Messengers for the full second season, where they only talk to me. And it's like, I think 6 episodes, something like that. So then she told me, well, Iconic's coming to the US. Would you be interested in maybe having your show? You may have an opportunity. So the opportunity came. The CEO reached out to me personally and asked me if I would like to have my own show. And I said, yes, let's do it.
Awesome.
So yeah, so it just came from me showing up exactly as who I am, like you said, right? And this is what I tell people. No matter what your talent is or what you're passionate about, share it, because you never know who's watching. I didn't seek out to get my own show. It literally fell in my lap, literally.
Yeah.
Right? So anything that comes to me that's aligned with who I am, I'm going to say yes every time. Yes, yes, yes. And it gave me an opportunity to really share my views in a professional way, and I really enjoyed working on the show. The producer was really open to my ideas, because I said I want the show to look like this. I wanted to have, like I was behind all the way it was colored and everything. I said I want to have like a golden flare. I sent examples of how I wanted to look. So I'm an artsy person as well. I'm an artist. So I really enjoyed the process, and I look forward to doing other shows in the future, because I know that's coming and I can't wait.
I feel that for you. I feel that so strongly for you. And that's what, there was something just telling me, reach out, that it's time for us to do a show together. I'm like, there's just an energy around you that I feel that it's like just beginning, that things are going to get even bigger. So like with you saying other shows and that, I'm like, I so feel it. And it really is just coming into alignment with that other version of self. If we can kind of teleport into the future and tap into that essence of who we are in those future moments and start to bring it back into the now. And I always tell my clients when I'm working with them, because I do the psychic readings and I really tap into like quantum potential and things. If we can kind of like extract part of that essence of that future version of self and bring it into the now, things are going to start showing up. People are going to start showing up. Relationships are going to start showing up. More alignment with abundance is going to start showing up. But sometimes what happens is like we trip ourselves up along the way. So if we want to get rid of like core beliefs or, any negative assumptions, things like this, that's how we create that smooth pathway. And that's what I see for you. You just have this like crystal clear focus and pathway. And I'm like, no doubt, like it's just going to show up and happen for you because you've got into congruent alignment with your future. And it's now just a matter of the universe bringing that divine timing in, that Wheel of Fortune card, that temperance card, and you're in that moment. It's really beautiful to see because I've known you for a couple of years and
Well,
I'm
I'm
just
glad
so
you can see it.
I'm just so proud of you. So yeah, I'm really
Thank
excited.
you, thank you, thank you.
And
Yeah.
I love your music too. It's funny, I was playing it to one of my girls the other day, and I'm like, this is my friend. And I'm just like vibing to your music. It really is powerful and it's beautiful. And I think that this is probably like a perfect point to lead into creating a new culture. What we sort of talked about the other day. And I really feel that with your music, that it is creating this new positive embracing of like our own power and ourself, and kind of like lining up with what I would say is like affirmations and new energy of self.
Yeah, yeah. I want to speak on what you said about tapping into your future real quick. I want to share something with everybody that's watching real quick. What I literally do sometimes is I literally sit in my room and I pretend like I'm being interviewed by someone. And I ask myself questions and answer them as if I'm on a Joe Rogan show or any type of show. And I'll just sit there and sit in the energy and pretend like I'm on this show. I do that all the time. It's like I play it out. And that's the power of us as children, right? We were always using our imagination to create things. And we have to learn how to get back to that power that's just grounded in our adult version, but allow our child to come out a little bit and play in the energy of imagination, because that's where a lot of things can be conjured up, right, in your imagination. So I play in that all the time, in that magic of the imagination.
And I think that that's where you and I, excuse me, kind of meet in the middle, like around dance too, because, working with dance and working with shamanic energy and being in flow, there's that term flow state. And I
Yeah.
think when you start to tap into, if we imagine or we visualize like quantum physics, like superstring theory, and you sitting in that room, talking or responding to the interview, you're tapping into quantum potential, but you're bringing it into the now. You're feeling, I call it like a golden thread. So it's like we pull on these golden threads that come to future, and they might be ideas or they might be inspiration. It's funny. I was thinking this morning, like I woke up and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to drink my potion in a martini glass this morning.
All
And
right.
as you and I were talking backstage, I'm like, I don't even drink. Like I get so affected by alcohol, even the smallest of it will just be enough. But I'm
Yeah.
like, you know what? I'm going to drink my potion in a damn martini glass this morning because that's just how I feel like showing up. I feel like tapping into that power, that potential, that magic. Can you share with us a little bit about, I guess, not only how you create like culture for people like on a collective level, but even like with your shamanic, like you do really beautiful healing work and you see and feel the energy shifting through people. When I've watched some examples of you doing healing work, you can really cathartically see people having releases. And to me, it almost looks like Kundalini energy also awakening at the same time in the body as shifting out that old version of self.
Yeah. Well, what I want to say when it comes to culture, I have issues with the current modern culture because I feel like we don't I feel like a culture needs a foundational set of principles to be built upon. And I feel like we don't have that in modern culture. And what I mean by that is there are so many people who are doing so many things that are toxic and destructive to themselves and others in the way we operate within culture, with the toxic music, the toxic food we eat. Everything we do, for the most part, can be linked back to toxicity. So the reason why I'm saying I feel like we need to create a new culture is because we need to create something that's set on some different principles that can steer us back into balance. So I have an idea of starting a new culture with other people that's based off of 4 different principles: love, honor, integrity, and respect. If you build anything on top of those 4 principles, it'll always lead you back to balance. Whether we're talking about food, medicine, music, relationships, it doesn't matter what it is. If you build on top of those principles, you will always come back to the middle. So I feel like if I can co-create a new culture with other people that are based on those principles, we can begin to affect the world in a way that will start to change the frequency of how we interact with each other. And I feel like we need something different. We do.
Yeah,
When you
we
look
do.
at, yeah, when you look at like in India, like in the actual in India, their food, when you eat their food, it has turmeric in it and it has a lot of healing herbs. It's like they put the medicinal elements in their food. It's part of the culture. So what I'm saying is we need something that has, okay, we need some potions, we need some, some healing potions in our drinks and our food. So if we can create a culture that is medicinal, right? Because to me, coming into healing and harmony is all about balance, right?
Yeah.
So love, honor, integrity, and respect will keep you on the path of balance, right? So if we create food that understands that, with that understanding rather, or we create music with that understanding, we build relationships with that understanding, we build communities with that understanding, we will literally begin to heal each other by sticking to those principles, right? So that's why I'm very passionate about creating a new culture. When you create a new culture, you create a new society, right? So
Mm.
a new culture and a healthier culture and a healthier society will lead to a more joyful experience as a human being. I mean, come on.
Yeah, and I love that. I'm so in alignment with that. So for me, I guess studying natural medicine, all those years ago too, it really, it's been something that's been ingrained in me, not just from my beautiful teachers, but I think it's something that you and I on a soul level also came to bring into the earth, along with like many other star seeds and many other, souls that are on this path. Working for the collective, because
Yeah.
that's what I really see. It's about sort of that servitude, but it's just as you're painting that picture, I'm just getting like all these utopia type visions and versions of future potential. And that comes into alignment with what I see like with the ET galactic side of things too, that once we step into those sort of like new cultures, that's also when we step into a higher level of consciousness where we can be met with those beings that are existing on higher states and dimensions. They are here, they are surrounding us. And I know with you doing your shamanic work as well, that you feel those influences and you feel those beautiful spirits supporting and guiding us. So I think if we can really step outside of the ego, because that's that old, 3D side of things, and, still have the healthy ego that's driving us and inspiring us and keeping us to move forward with different things. But if we really start to step into like that true alignment of who we are and that best version of self and start showing up as it and start treating our body with respect, like with the medicines, with the herbs. And I love it. Omar said, from Watchers Talk, who I'm doing a conference with him on the weekend. So definitely check out the Watchers Talk Magic Box Conference that's running over 3 days on this weekend. He has amazing conferences with such beautiful lineups. I just want to give a shout out to you, Omar. But yeah, if we're starting to have the medicines, have the spices, and that's the way I look at my food. And it's funny because working more with like the plant-based side of things and background in natural medicine, some of the ingredients that I had, I didn't necessarily like some of them. Like I did not like cilantro, coriander when I started 20 something years ago with that. But if you look at the planetary medicine behind certain herbs, as well as like the detox heavy metal elimination aspects, So say, for example, cilantro is Mars energy. So if I need to get something done or I need more kind of like a drive, I might take in more Mars energy.
Okay.
And like if I need more love or I need more flow, that's where I do my love potion, tea, or I do the heal a broken heart tea because I want softness, I want Venus energy, I want rose. And I think if we can look at our food and our medicine in that way, and I think really treat our bodies that way, or treat people. So say someone's going through heartache or a broken heart, we support them with Venus energy. We support them with love. And I just think, imagine like if we had a culture that was set up that way, it'd just be beautiful in so many ways. And even infusing like the Hare Krishnas do into their cooking. I actually went to the Hare Krishnas on Monday and had some of their amazing food. You feel on the days like when people are centered and in alignment, you feel the love that's in the food. And sometimes it's hit or miss. Sometimes you'll go in and you're like, yeah, didn't really feel like that same level of love that was in the food last time. But imagine if we all start showing up as the best versions of self.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I want to touch on something you touched on briefly when you talked about connecting with higher beings, other beings on different vibrational frequencies. I actually got a download when I was in Marina Del Rey, California. I was just walking, and I got a download about that, to where once we as human beings get to a certain vibrational frequency where we're vibrating collectively on a certain wavelength, then that will open up the door for us to be able to connect and have trading and things of that nature with other beings. But other beings won't connect with us if we don't get to a certain frequency, because we're just not in tune with that tone, that frequency tone, right? Because we're all instruments and it's all about harmony, right? So we can't really get there until we heal ourselves enough to be able to get collectively to that level. So I can see that as well. And
Yeah.
yeah, that's why I'm saying, like, all of my music, when I create music, I make conscious hip hop, and the goal of every song is to make a point. Okay. I
Mhm.
never created songs just to talk about the club or rap about rapping. Like, I want to say something. And I feel like that's music's original intention, was to be
Yeah,
a tool to say something, to teach, right? So this is what I use hip hop for, as a method to make a point, to teach, to open you up. And then when I'm saying things over music, it goes deeper into your subconscious. And this is why I talk about how toxic the mainstream hip hop is, and how detrimental that is to us as human beings, to be listening to that constantly, putting that negative music into your subconscious mind. And me personally, I listen to bossa nova music, soft rock, and jazz all during the day to keep my nervous system calm. Now, every now and then, I have to admit, I have to slip into some hardcore hip hop like I used to listen to back in the day. But I can only
me
listen to about two or three songs. I have
too.
to go back to something that's more matched with my frequency,
Yeah,
right? So we have to understand, getting to a higher frequency is linked to calming your nervous system.
definitely.
Calming your nervous system can be linked to the food you eat, the music you listen to, the scents in your home, right? When you like Nag Champa, the way that makes you feel. Like, all these things are important in your environment, to set up your environment to prompt you to relax your nervous system. And in my space, this is what I create. I always have music and a certain energy. When I had my last apartment in Atlanta, clients would come through for sessions. And as soon as they walked into my apartment, they would say, "It feels so good in here." It's because I'm always cultivating that
Mm,
calm nature to keep my nervous system balanced, right?
yeah,
That's very important. And that needs to also be understood within a new culture. We need to create environments that mirror a healthy nervous system. When your nervous system is relaxed, your immune system is also relaxed and more powerful.
mm,
This is very important for us to understand. So, if we're in environments that make us anxious all the time, we need to remove ourselves from those environments and start to sculpt our spaces in a way that supports the health of our nervous system.
Yeah, I totally agree, especially with my background in kinesiology. So much of what we do is to regulate the nervous system. And when you look into even like the energy dynamics of it, so with you setting up that beautiful environment, and I'm the same, like have the Nang Champa, have the music going, and you want it to be of a certain vibe and frequency. And I'm the same. Every now and then I need to tap back into like my
Right.
old school hip hop days and everything
Yeah,
as
me
well,
too.
because that was like the music we grew up with. I
Right.
loved it. And our house parties that we had like back in high school were the best. They were better than some of like the experiences going to clubs and that. Just the amount of fun that you
Yeah.
have with that. I'm gonna have to send you some of my playlists that I've got on
Okay.
Spotify,
Yeah. Definitely.
because
Yeah.
it's all kind of like girl hip hop, but affirmation type music as well. So like
Definitely.
we'll listen to it on the way to school, and I'm programming my kids with affirmations, and
Yeah.
really programming them to be aware of their value and their self-worth. But when we look into what you were saying with the nervous system too, if we look into the aura, which is the quantum field. And then we look into the chakras, which are contained within our energy systems, and we look into the meridians and all of the acupuncture points. This is like all these little Christmas tree lights lighting up. So if we're going into an energy that's set up where you actually feel that you can let your guard down, that you can kind of like unpack, you're already going to receive healing. Even just through being in that environment, that space that you've set up as that shamanic healer as well. So it's so conducive to healing and to the nervous system actually being able to get into alignment. Now, there is a quick little thing that I do with my clients when we're doing readings. If there's past life things that come up to be healed, I'll actually take them through when we purge out a negative core belief or emotion, whether it's from this lifetime or another lifetime. I know you work similar with
Yeah.
the shamanic practice too. But
Mhm.
one thing that you can do at home, say if you're experiencing anxiety and you want to shift it instantly, even just to have like a deep breath in and a deep breath out with a ha sound, 2 breaths with the ha sound actually like resets your nervous system. Just like we see cat or dogs kind of shake off, they're shaking it out of the myelin sheath, they're shaking it out of the muscle. Because as humans, we've been in our culture, you've been taught to wear stress as a badge of honor. And I think
Yeah.
the more that we move into these healthy environments, like you're saying, the more that we learn that no, this isn't the natural way for humans to be. We actually are very energetically sensitive. And the more that we start to get into these environments, the more that we start to remember who we're supposed to be. Can you maybe talk a little bit about like what people can expect with this session with you? And is it just in person, or can people do online shamanic work with you too?
Yes, I do energy. I do quantum energy healing on people from all over the world. I just did a session with a man in Sweden. So energy knows no distance.
Yeah.
And I also do self mastery coaching with people. Via video. So yeah, space is not an issue at all. Yeah, and I love working with people. And I also do retreats. I was just in Atlanta, me and my friend Jay English. We do some events together. We did twin power energy healing sessions where we both worked on people at the same time. And we did I wish you could experience this. I have to bring it to Australia. We've created something called the shamanic dance rebirth, which is we do different iterations of the shamanic dance. We have a version called the snowflake. We have a
Oh,
we have something called the surrender walk, where for instance, because it's all about shamanic dance. Well, first of all, let me show people what I'm talking about with my hands. So the
okay.
shamanic dance is pretty much a man and a woman sitting back to back like this, okay? And we're playing like sensual music, right, to set the vibe. And someone starts pushing. Whoever's pushing is in the masculine, the other person has to surrender. And then the other person can push as well, and they're masculine. Then the other person has to surrender, and they're feminine. So it gives the opportunity for men and women to shift in and out of their masculine and feminine principle. And when you get into a synchronization within this dance going back and forth, what you'll notice is something magical happens. You feel your energy connect as one, and you become like one energy being, you feel. And sometimes the energy gets so intense, you just sit there and you just become space. And you feel
Mm,
all this energy just build up as one being. So this exercise teaches you how to shift in and out of your masculine feminine principle as a man and as a woman. And it also gives you the potential opportunity of experiencing the concept of oneness for real. because I've slipped into a deep shamanic dance where we literally, it becomes such a flow of back and forth that I don't feel no disconnect. I can't feel myself from the woman behind me anymore.
Mm.
And then we created a version called Snowflake, where it's a whole bunch of different people connected in the dance, in the shamanic dance. And it's just one, feels like one entity. Then we have a version with 4 people. We get our arms together and we're all moving together. So it's many different iterations of shamanic dance that has come about over time. And I want to say this, the shamanic dance is also a healing modality,
Yeah.
because when I was just in Atlanta, when you do all that dancing with everybody, if you surrender to the energy, you become so high in the frequency. I was so high in the energy. I was just sitting here like this with my eyes closed after the event, just sitting there with a drink in my hand, with some water in my hand. Like, I was so high in my energy. And I feel like if communities came together to dance like this instead of going to the club, for example,
Yeah.
to drink alcohol and dance to toxic music, what if everybody got together and played chill atmospheric music and did this dance to get into the energy? I believe that over time, if that happens over and over again, it would help raise the frequency locally and help reset people's immune system, because that space that I was in was damn near 0 point. You know, when you go to
Yeah.
0 point, that's where your soul rests. This is where you can recharge every cell in your body. That's where the white light is, in 0 point, right? So the shamanic dance started off as just being something that I wanted to share with women, just to show how you can shift in and out of masculine and feminine principles. But the technique has so many different other healing properties. And it teaches so many other different things that I had no idea. I just downloaded that spur of the moment in Australia.
Yeah.
And I want to ask you, I don't know if because every now and then I would send you a message and I would say, remember we did shamanic dance? And you'll be like, yes, I remember. Every so
Yeah.
often.
No, I definitely remember it. And it was just, and it's so funny because like, just as you're talking about like, back to back and like feeling into the space of everything, it's like a blast from the past in terms of it just takes me straight back to that night. And because I've done, a lot of belly dancing and like intuitive dance and things like that, I know what you mean about like how it elevates and how you can just sit in the energy after. I kind of call it like when you do yoga, there's the shavasana at the end when you're just laying in corpse pose or, in child's pose, and you're really just kind of feeling into it. And it's like the dance is kind of like the pathway to get into that. And I much prefer dance than doing yoga or doing, other things, because there's something about dancing in the divine. And I love to work with it, with manifestation or with setting an intention. And it's like climbing into the energy of that dance. But what I experienced, it was so beautiful because you were this divine masculine polarity to all of these women that were there that night, but the energy intensity was just beautiful. We could feel like a weaving in the room because I had one of my friends with me too, and she just loved it. And I wish we had more opportunity to experience that here, so you're going to have to come back over.
Yeah, most definitely.
Or do a retreat or something here. I would love that. It would be incredible. But I would love to see the way that it's evolved, or if I come to the
Yeah.
States and, come and experience it, because I don't think people realize the potency that comes with this. And I know even with some of my teachings around like Kundalini and chakra connections, it's a very similar energy. And when you connect each of those chakras or each of the energies, you do become one and you transcend the physical plane to a degree. You really kind of like elevate to be in that heightened spiritual 0 point where, we can create or we can channel that energy into something as well. So it's powerful to work with a group. I mean, it's powerful to work by yourself, but if you're working, with that dynamic of the Mars and the Venus, especially to create that oneness, have you used like some of your dance for manifestation and things too?
Actually, I haven't. What I do to get into that energy is I just literally sit in my imagination and I imagine myself being with my son in a new home, and I
Mm.
try to feel for the point when my crypto investments were up because the market crashed and I got to get back up. But I remember what it felt like when my investments were at a nice level.
Yeah.
And I'll tap into that energy, and then I'll tap into the future and just what I do is I feel for well, I've been shown something else too. I slip into a combination of feeling gratitude, joy, and feeling myself in a safe space with my son and with my new
Mm.
partner, whoever she is, and just being there. I see us all hugging each other, and I tell them, I love you, I love both of you so much. Like I actually say it too,
Yeah.
when I'm in the vision.
Yeah.
And I play out the motions of it, and I sit in that place, and I imagine my son laying on my chest, playing soft music, and because me and my son used to dance all the time. My son is hilarious. Look, I used to just be dancing, and I have videos of him because I left. Me and his mother, unfortunately, didn't continue within a relationship, but the videos I get from him, she would send me videos of him dancing. She'd be like, he is his father's son. And I could see him closing his eyes, mimicking what I used to do in front of him when I used to just put on
Yeah.
music and dance. I used to hold him and dance with him, dancing to samba music and all types of stuff. So,
He's
and so
beautiful.
that's something I want to get back into. When I get back up to Massachusetts, we're definitely going to get back into the dancing and
Yeah.
just being in the
No,
energy.
he's gorgeous. You can see that aspect of you through him, just in the energy and things. He's
He's
really special.
amazing. He's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, he actually was a catalyst of change in my life in a specific way. From 2010 to 2020, I was on my spiritual pilgrimage. I was in my monk phase, which means I wasn't really in my masculine enough, but I needed to be in the monk phase to learn all
Mm.
of the dynamics of the inner world, right? So it was a tricky place to be in because I was scattered, I was all over the place, living here, living there, all over the place. But when my son was born, it was almost like he was the catalyst to ground me more into my
Yeah.
masculine energy. So that's why I always post the monk and the king now, because now I still have the monk with me, but my
Mm.
son activated the king. That's why I'm like, okay, investments, get my
Mm.
money up, get grounded with the monk. So now I could show up in the world with the mysticism, but grounded in a practical way, right? And make it digestible to give back to humanity by creating systems. And that's what I'm very passionate about. Creating social systems. I see myself as a social slash energetic scientist. Like me and Jay English literally do energetic um like science experiments, like the heart circle vortex that we created, which is a group energy healing session. One day I was in Tallahassee when he lived down there, and we started talking. I got an idea. What if you had people sitting in a circle, holding hands, and create a circuit and move energy? And we would test it out. Why don't y'all people come through? We got an idea we want to test out, and we were literally Tallahassee, Florida, was really like our energetic lab where we would test
I love
things out.
that.
And then we would watch the energy and see, oh, and then we would do, okay, let's create a line. Let's create a circuit of just the line to see how the energy moves. Oh, the energy moves like this in that circuit. So we would literally be taking notes and paying attention to what's happening when we do all these different iterations of energetic experiments of different, ways of connecting people together and on things of that nature. So we're like mad scientists in that way.
I
And the
love that.
next it's I love it. And the next phase that I want to step into is I want to step more into an academic space to where we check people's energy before we do shamanic dance, check it afterwards, or have
Mm.
people do it for a month, subjects to see how their energy changes, how their life changes, what happens
Mm.
if you continually play in this energy. Same thing with heart circle vortexes. What happens? Because I've seen people go straight to a bliss state and they say, oh my God, I've never felt this before. So
Yeah.
what would happen if people continually did this for a month? Like this is what I want to get into, the right papers
Love that.
and bring forth, because this is technology. The heart
Mm.
circle vortex, the shamanic dance, and I also have other theories like the balance and query theory, which is a chart that can help anybody in a friendship or relationship figure out what both of them are trying to teach each other to get to the middle and go up. So it's a whole bunch of things I don't want to bring to the table and ground it in an academic way so people can actually see it for something besides being woo woo. Like, no, this
Yeah.
is actual science that you can apply. I know it works because I used it, but we got to get some subjects in here. We got to get some papers written so people can see this
Mhm.
is not a game. I'm not just playing around and being willy nilly, with what I do. Like, I'm very serious about helping people and
And I
creating.
think it's important that we ground it with the science. I mean, my background's
Yes.
in health sciences too,
Oh, okay.
and I've been hooked up to my beautiful friend John on here actually gave me a heart coherence little device as well, one of the heart math devices. So
Okay.
you can check like your heart coherence, but I've been hooked up to other focus band type things where you can actually see your brain waves. And I think that would be interesting to check the voltage on
Yes.
people electrically as
Yeah.
well, before going into it and after kind of being around that energy. And I think when we look into different emotions, that space of love or that energy of love is one of the highest frequency energies too. And imagine if you're tapping into that each time you dance and you're putting that out there electromagnetically in your own aura. And what I see actually with auras at the moment is really interesting because of doing psychic readings all the time. You get to kind of get a tap into the collective. And what I've been seeing lately is a little bit of a shift that we've gone from where, on a mental, emotional level, we're creating our reality. You see like a soft glow in those parts of the auras. But what I'm seeing on a quantum level or in the spiritual part of the aura is now there's a higher part starting to come in. So more people are getting in alignment with their higher selves, which is also where we're seeing the old kind of pass out and, start to be detoxed. But the way that this sort of shows up for those that want to know what it looks like clairvoyantly, it goes from being sort of like a soft glow focus in the mental emotional body to literally like sparkles in the quantum field. And that's what I feel like with your dance, that it's bringing and harnessing this glittery, sparkly, spiritual, higher quantum energy. So if we can channel that and we can then push that into manifestation or into even just being in a collective heart space together,
Yeah.
it's alchemy. You're creating like living, energetic, beautiful vibrational alchemy medicine. It's
Right.
just, I want to dance like right now, damn it. This is like, when you
Listen,
like to get out and dance because you know the medicine in it.
if we did shamanic dance now, it'd be something different. Like,
Yeah.
it's whoo, and my energy is different from when I met you. That was 2015.
Same. Can you
It's like,
believe it was that long
right,
ago?
right. That was
Yeah.
like 7 years ago. Like,
Crazy.
so, but I
Wow.
love shamanic dance. I think that it's amazing. I think it scares some people because my mother said that looks weird, but she old school though. But some people see it and they say, oh, that feels sexual, because it is sensual. But what I love about it is, like, for example, it forces you to connect soul to soul. I've done
Yeah.
shamanic dance with women I'm not physically attracted to, but back to back, I'm like, ooh, I like
Yeah.
your energy. It'd be like, ooh, and so I think that because you're back to back, it takes away from this wall in a sense of preconceived um judgments we may have towards someone by seeing them physically, and it just puts you straight soul to soul. This is soul to
Love that.
soul. You don't see them. All you can do is feel them. That's it.
Mm.
And I believe that that is helping to recalibrate who we are as human beings and helping us get back to actually feeling each other, because we become so superficial to not want to connect because of how someone looks, or not wanting to connect because of someone's race, or not wanting to connect because of someone's gender. All these different barriers that we put up immediately just from seeing someone. But when you put a man and a woman back to back, there's nothing but your two souls coming
Mm.
together and experiencing each other in that moment. And I think that in itself is just beautiful.
Yeah, I think so. And I think with that technique of back to back as well, it really you have to close off your senses to a degree, the physical senses, and tap into the energy dynamics of it. And as you were saying, like, some people might perceive it as being sexual, but when we look into the fundamental healing nature of energy, when we tap into Kundalini, when we tap into that tantric flow, that's healing. It
Right.
really is. It's like tapping into that fountain of youth. It's tapping into the ambrosia. It's tapping into that divine nectar that comes when we activate the Kundalini. And that, when you work with flowing that through the chakras and flowing it through the pranic tube, that feeds the vagus nerve, and that energy gets to deliciously go up and out through the nervous system. It starts to purge old blockages, old pathways. But we need to be able to sort of like let our guard down to do that.
Right.
Because,
You
you
know.
can sort of see sometimes like when people are dancing and it becomes like a little bit
Yeah,
robotic, or a little bit like they're more worried about people on the outside.
that's
And what I
true.
love is with the mood that you set up with it, you actually feel really held in this safe space to be able to just let go and to know that you're shifting into a new way of living and a new way of being. And I think that's something very special that you have, is that ability to be able to get people to drop the guard, to just forget for a moment of who they are or who they think they are, so they can rediscover and re-find that core essence of themselves.
Most definitely, most definitely. And safe space is a key, or key words, a safe space, because
Mm.
like the world is so harsh, right? We're so super harsh because of a lot of us have been through a lot of trauma, and we haven't learned how to let go of certain protective energies that we hold on to protect ourselves, right? So we're walking through life like this, and a lot
Yeah,
of our nervous systems are completely out of whack. It's like a electrical circuit, right? Because
so true.
anxiety. So it's like when you let that down, the energy, instead of going and you can short circuit yourself, but when you relax, now the energy is flowing through your circuits more evenly. And I want to see if I can explain, because a lot of people have not experienced the feeling of being in a high vibrational state. The best way I can describe it, of how it feels like warmth and a coolness going through every cell in your body. It's like you're sitting in a feeling of a cool, warm feeling that's cool and warm at the same time. And it
Mm.
just feels like you're just suspended in that feeling. And it almost feels like you're somewhat outside of your body and more inside of a feeling of space. That's the
Mm.
best way I could describe it.
That's a great way to describe it. It's almost like being held in
Yes.
like in a point of creation. And sometimes what I notice is that people describe that it's like the room falls away, or the
Mhm.
3D reality falls away, and they're seeing, and it's the same like when I've done light language, people describe that it's, they start to see like galaxies, or they start to see like apparitions or geometries and different things around us. And I think that that's perhaps maybe part of the underlying energy of the universe that they're tapping into. They're sort of like getting away or decreating the constructs of 3D reality and tapping into that raw primal magic or plasma fields that are around us too. And I think, the plasma fields that are around us are programmable. And that's where I'm like really intrigued and interested with channeling that energy from dance into manifestation. And I've used it to manifest abundance and to manifest love. And I think in doing that, we're actually just tapping into that future version of self and bringing it into the now. But I would love to see it in a group setting, how you're talking about, working with like groups of 4 and what kind of like charge. To
Yeah.
me, I'm just seeing like all these little capacitors hooked up together, and it's like you're putting the program in, or you're putting in like all these little batteries and like little Tesla coils. That's what comes to mind when you're talking about that.
And speaking of batteries, just like the Matrix, I mean, when people come together in groups and interact in ways that raises the frequency, it helps. Even I know that I vibrate on a certain level that may be considered somewhat high, but like if I'm in a group of people, they help me go higher, because it's almost like that's that a more expansive circuit. It's like that's why it's so important for us to come together as human beings, right? Because we literally can charge each other up more than you can charge yourself up, right? Coming in
Yeah.
that space of love with others, that it can take you to such an intense, um, white light filled experience that you can't get there by yourself. And this is why we need each other. We need
Yeah.
each other's energy to heal. And once we recognize that, we can realize that we need to create a culture that's based around healing. I believe when we talk about highly advanced cultures, that's what was going on. Because I've had visions of past lives. And actually, the heart circle vortex was inspired from a vision that I've seen of myself in a past life. I was sitting with a group of mystics in a circle, and we were going like this side to side. Because originally I had people doing that because that's what I had in the vision. And
But
it
I
was,
would see when you were talking, as soon as you said past life, I was
yeah.
just seeing this energy just building and building and building.
And that's what I saw. I saw a circle of us sitting in a circle, holding hands, and it was energy moving in the middle, in the middle of the
Mm.
circle. So that's where I got the idea from. Okay, sit in a circle and we'll move the energy through them. And when me and Jay projects the energy through the circuit, through the people, the energy begins to move and it stays contained in the circle. And what happens is it revs
Wow.
up and raises the frequency of everyone. Now, if someone in the circle doesn't open up, we call them a circuit blocker. It'll kind of, the energy goes so we kind of had that in Atlanta. The last heart circle vortex, we had a circuit blocker.
Oh no.
Right. So the energy didn't really rev up as much as it could have. But if you have everyone in a circle, if they all surrender, the energy will get so high that literally it will be extreme releases, like and people will go into such a deep bliss state. But
Mm.
that's the power of coming together as human batteries and using our energy in a scientific way and understanding, because we are energetic technology, right? If we learn how to use our technology, we can use our energy to do things we never even imagined, right? There are things that's in the energy that we could tap into if we get to a higher frequency, right? Those downloads you get come from doing what? Going to a higher frequency. The shamanic dance is not something I thought of in my mind. It literally fell into me. How did it fall into me? Because I was on a frequency where it could be received.
That's so true. And Joe Vitale talks about this, like with, manifestation and things. He talks about sometimes there's those ideas that come from the universe. And he says that there's a certain frequency or an energy about them. But when you take action on that, the universe comes into alignment to support that. So it's almost like there's this energy that just drives and pushes it to come further into fruition or to line you up with other people that are in connection with this. So when we follow those ideas or those inspirations that drop in, and MIT is like another version of that. I was literally going through heartbreak sitting in the bath, and it was probably the worst heartbreak of my life. And I'm sitting there with my tea, crying, crystals in the bath, candles, herbs, everything. And this inspiration comes in. If this is helping me to shift this huge heart energy and starting to make me actually feel like I'm coming back together in myself and really feeling supported from the universe, supported from the Venus energy in the herbs, then this is going to be able to help other people. And so I was pushed from that drive from the universe and from God and from that divine inspiration. So when you're listening to, getting that message about the dance and things, good things come from that. So I'm so happy to see that you were able to take that, because it's one thing to, to have the idea, but a lot of us will have the idea and not do anything about it. So the
Yeah,
fact that you're working with groups of people, that's meant to be. Like
yeah,
that's divine.
most definitely, most definitely. And like I said, my main goal and my main source of fulfillment comes from helping people get into a higher version of themselves. I'm just like that. Like if you're my friend and I know a way that can help you make money, I'm going to tell you about it. If you're my friend and there's a way that I know that you could do anything to improve your life, I'm going to tell you about it, right? Because I like to see people win. I like to see people. I experience so much joy and bliss within myself. I would love to be able to share my bliss with others who are doing the same. But for us to get to high levels of bliss, we have to do the self mastery inner work. We have to face that pain and realize that there's actually a lesson within the pain. When you find the lesson, you outgrow the pain. I want to say that again. When you find the lesson within the pain, you outgrow the pain. The pain is not your enemy.
Mm.
You not facing the pain and looking for the lesson causes you to become your own enemy.
I love that. That's so on point with what I've experienced in life and with what some of my clients have said too. And it's like if we can look at it as perhaps this happened for a reason. Like I always love to take things that are either unfortunate or things that I feel of like being major life lessons and go, how can I let that benefit not just myself but other people? Or how can I teach other people how to avoid that, or how to kind of like tap into the magic or the healing that helped me when I was going through that trauma or going through that time? And I think if we can look at pain as a different way, or even looking at when we're in situations where we're either experiencing those heartbreaks, and look at it as the person for not just like their traumas and things too, but it's like to honor the space, because so many times we want to run from pain. We don't want to feel it. We want to distract. We want to numb from it. But there's gift in the pain. There's medicine in that.
Most definitely. And
Yeah.
I always say, right, particularly in your romantic relationships, this is how I look at relationships. When I come into a relationship, I know for a fact I'm coming to teach her something and she's coming to teach me something. And the lessons, not all of them, but a lot of the lessons come from the pain that is actually triggered. And this is what the balance and query theory is all about. I can put any two people in this chart. You can tell me what are the issues you're having with him. What are the issues you are having with her? Then I can show you, oh, this is the issues that you're having with each other it's a polarization of something that got to be balanced to come to the middle.
Yeah.
So on one end, one person might feel like they're not being heard, right? And the other person may feel like you're not listening to me enough.
Yeah.
So I can always tap into, okay, so what's actually happening is the person who feel like they're not being heard needs to listen more. And the person that feels like they're not being heard enough needs to speak up more. Usually that's what's happening. And that's the lesson that you're trying to teach each other. So whoever you end up being in a relationship with, they're going to trigger a part of you that's imbalanced. You're going to trigger a part of them that's imbalanced. And usually the imbalance actually mirrors each other. If you really pay attention, I shocked some people when I put them on the chart and I say, you see this? You're trying to get them to balance this. They're trying to get you to balance that. Like, they can see it. Like, yes. And what happens is if each person chooses to be accountable and the man fixes the imbalanced part that's being triggered and the woman fixes the imbalanced part that's being triggered, what happens is they move into the middle and go up. What's the next thing that needs to be rationed out? Oh, this trigger. And every time you go in and up, the triggers get less and less and less. And eventually, guess what? You just stay in the middle because there's nothing else to resolve. You can eventually get to that point. But the relationship in itself is attempting to get you to balance out the part. But see, most people don't want to be honest about the bullshit on their side. They just want to. In all my relationships, every single one, I could tell you the bullshit on my side and the bullshit on their side. I could tell you I was doing this. They were doing that. But what I do is I can be that sounds funny. But what I do is I can be accountable for the imbalanced actions on my end and actually recognize that I'm imbalanced in that way and start to change my pattern,
Mm.
because my woman is trying to teach me or show me, yeah, teach and show me where my imbalances are. Now, she may be saying something extreme, but in that thing that she's complaining about, there's some truth in there most of the time. And in
Yeah.
the thing I'm complaining about, there's some truth in there. So
Mm.
the question is, are you going to be honest about the fact that they're bringing up something about you that you need to look at?
Yeah. And I think a lot of people aren't always willing to look in that mirror to see that. Um,
Exactly.
do you know what? I think we come back and do a whole show just on relationships.
We
And
could.
I love that like masculine, feminine dynamic that we have with that, with both of our studies and like with the sciences that we've looked in. Because I was actually having this conversation the other day that's so connected with what you were saying. And I was talking about, with the love languages and talking about neuro-linguistic programming. And even if we look at it on a chemical level, so women bond with oxytocin, the love hormone when you have the baby, you're so in love and, you want to nurture. So like a lot of the time we feel loved when we're held or when there's physical touch, but it depends on your love language. But then for men, a lot of them actually bond with vasopressin, I think is how you pronounce it, which is, in doing things. So like, I know even like, with my partner and things, he's very much like, let's go get this done or let's do this. And that to him brings a sense of bonding. And it's like afterwards, it's like, oh, we did that together. Or, we overcame this hurdle. Whereas for me, being like more oxytocin based, it is that quality time together. It is like that physical touch. And it's not to say that we don't have both. Like men will still have the oxytocin, but traditionally it is more women that will feel bonded, to the babies that have the higher levels of oxytocin. Whereas for men, like with their sons, it is about, doing the thing together, kicking the football or, going and let's go climb that mountain together. So I think we need to understand that hormonally, chemically, physiologically, we are kind of made up of different chemistry to a degree. So if we can start to go, you know what, if I do that with my partner, we're going to feel more bonded. We're going to feel closer together. It's going to feel a lot safer to be able to open up and to share. And I think if we then look into the love languages that go with it, because some people are, gift giving or words of affirmation, other things that we normally wouldn't sort of think about so much, like with love or acts of service. That's how some people will feel love, is like when you doing some, or sometimes when someone is doing something for you, even the act of like, would you like me to make you a cup of tea? Things like this. Some people will feel really loved by having that act of service and you making that tea. And I think some of it is culturally conditioned, depending on like what culture we've grown up or country, where different acts of service or things like that might be, how they express love. Whereas in other countries, it might be that physical touch. So I think there's so much that goes behind our relationships if we can break it down to look into what our needs are energetically. Oh my gosh, this is like
Yeah,
such a huge
I'm gonna tell you something. Literally, the year of 2021, I've actually saw relationships from a whole different dynamic on so many different levels. It's like I cracked codes. Like I understand relationships even on a more deeper level. And I have a theory actually about love languages. And with that, I see something behind it. We can share on the next show.
Oh,
And I also have a way to look at relationships from two different ways, from the primal plate and from the other plate, which is dealing with your characteristics and your culture and all those different things. But there's an actual primal plate that men have and a primal plate that women have that's unescapable. There are certain
yeah.
things primally that you have to recognize and understand as a man and as a woman on both sides for you to know how to navigate just on a primal level. But there's another level as well. So I have a lot of interesting views that I really didn't. It took me. My last relationship was the one, and then I went and got counseling as well in a relationship. So my counselor helped to actually make this primal plate concept clear. And
Mm.
now I see it clearly. There was a piece missing that I didn't really get yet that I get now. And this is why how I approach relationships are a little different now. And I think because of my understanding now, I think I understand more of what I need as opposed to what I want. For me, it's about what I need as opposed to what I want. So now what I want is actually what I need, right? It's a difference because sometimes what you want is not what you need. So I want actually what I need. And there were a lot of things that I realized that were hard pills that I had to swallow, but it's just, you have to accept reality for what it is and work with it, because reality is nature, and working with nature brings you harmony. Working against nature with your ego because you want it to be a different way brings you suffering.
Yeah. That's so true. And more lessons. And it's like, that cycle over and over again of the same lesson, same lesson. And yes, we can get stronger and we can learn more about ourselves. But I think if you're bringing it into congruent alignment between reality and what you need, I think that opens up so many doors. So I look forward to having that conversation and doing a whole show perhaps around relationships.
Oh, yeah.
So we've reached the top of the hour. There's a few things I just have to mention quickly. So I do have a discount code for anyone wanting to book a 2-hour session. We've got the code Galactic in high caps for all 2-hour sessions, whether it's a couples reading together, where we're looking at your aura and the dynamics of how your energies blend together, and perhaps like where, there is the balance, but also the things that are perhaps not so in balance, but also looking at like the galactic side of things and the energy dynamics you guys bring in on a spiritual level. And that also goes for the 2-hour personal session, where we do more of a quantum jump, looking into where energies are at within the aura now and where we can sort of shoot it in regards to like where you want to go with future. So I just had to mention that quickly. And this is the website. Solreta.com for bookings. But yeah, and I saw that some people were already subscribing to your YouTube. So please jump over to Jason's YouTube channel as well. And you can find a lot of his work under Little Sun. We've left all the links in the description box below. What is it that you would love to leave people with? Is there something you're working on at the moment? Or is there something that you feel really drawn to? I guess the energy of our beautiful collective we've got here, something that you feel really called to share?
I just want people to understand that, you choosing to be your own healer by facing your pain, processing your pain, not running away from it, facing it and processing it, helps all of us. Okay. So you are important. Everybody that's watching this video, you doing your own individual healing helps me, Solreta, and everybody in the world. So I want you to understand how important you are when it comes to your healing for all of us.
That's really powerful words to end on. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah.
And for anyone wanting to book sessions, we've got Jason's link down below. Please follow up with finding out more information on his other work and checking out his series and his music. Oh my gosh, your music.
Self-Mastery Science on iconic.com. My show is 8 episodes. Go check it out.
Yeah, amazing. Well, thank you so much. And I can't wait to have our next conversation. Thank you to all the beautiful audience that have joined us today and that are here with us many, many times. I look forward to sharing more shows with you guys. I've got a couple of other exciting guests lined up, and we're going to be diving more into magic and manifestation and abundance and love and all of these delicious things. But I really look forward to having you back on and talk about some more alchemy and relationships. Thank you, Jason.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Peace.
Bye, everyone.